Greetings from Chicagoland. This is Munira, the CEO and founder of Kismet Ventures, Inc. I'm also the niche navigator, and I help coaches find their niche and market to it. I have with me here Cheryl Meyers. She calls herself the Health Muse.
Correct.
And Cheryl is joining us from LA, Los Angeles.
No, actually, I'm in Sedona today.
She's in Sedona today, so she'll tell us about that. But I just want to introduce this program where I do this Munira's Musings, where I am meeting so many wonderful coaches and people who are doing so many wonderful things in life. And I realize that even though they are coaches and they have a following, some of us don't know what all of the coaches are doing. So this is my way of exposing them and then promoting them by doing interviews. So thank you for being on our show, Cheryl. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
So how's the weather in Sedona? This is in Arizona, I believe.
Yes, well, it's interesting because when we moved here from Los Angeles, everyone wondered how we were going to stand the heat, and it's been considerably cooler in Sedona than in Los Angeles. Every afternoon we get rainstorms, which we never get in Los Angeles, and we get it with thunder and lightning and the whole thing. So I'm really enjoying that. So this is a second home for us, and so it's lovely. Today it's a little gray, but it's going to be a beautiful day.
That's awesome. So, I've never heard of rain in Arizona. You always think of the desert when it comes to Arizona.
Right.
So you call yourself the Health Muse. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, well, the whole thing started, I was a jeweler. I have my own jewelry business. I've had it for 30 years. And 6 years ago, I got so sick I couldn't get out of bed. I hurt from head to toe. I had no idea what was wrong with me. So I went to the doctor and she did tests and she said, there's nothing wrong with you. Well, obviously there's something wrong with me. I hurt. And so she said, all right, we'll do some more tests.
So I'm going to ask you this, hurt how?
Pardon me?
When you say you're hurting, how were you hurt?
My muscles and my joints.
Okay.
I almost couldn't function. I hurt so bad.
Okay.
And so I went back to her a second time and she did more tests and she called me and said, it's in your head. She said, but I'm going to give you steroids. Well, I wasn't about to take pills for something she didn't know what it was. But my parents had unusual diseases and the medication became a bigger problem than their disease. So I turned my business over to my right hand and I started digging. And I didn't even know what I was looking for in the beginning, but I tripped upon a group called the Functional Medicine Group. And they were running a bunch of symposiums, and I literally watched 20 different symposiums trying to figure out where did I fit into all of this. And all of that kept coming back to leaky gut. So I thought, okay, if I have some kind of a chronic illness and it's leaky gut, what can I do myself while I start to look for a functional doctor? There were two things I could do. I could find and remove all the toxins in my life, and I could reduce my stress. I always thought stress was good for me, being chased by a tiger 24/7, which helped me get a lot of stuff done for my jewelry business, but my cortisol was very low, but my conventional doctor didn't think it was low enough to be Addison's disease, so what's to do? So I started to reduce my stress, and then I found the EWG website, the Environmental Working Group, and I started looking up absolutely everything that I used. I was appalled. Everything I used was very toxic. I was buying very expensive French cosmetics, and they were a 9 on a 10-point scale. So as I began to dig in and replace the toxins in my life, I then started to research where could I find a functional doctor. And let me tell you the difference between a functional and a conventional doctor. A conventional doctor tries to find the symptom and match the drug to it.
Okay.
A functional doctor does not do that at all. When I finally went in to meet my doctor, she looked at me and she said, all right, I'm going to explain this to you that you are sitting on a tack. Let's find out where that tack is. They are root cause doctors and they look at the whole body at the same time. And it ends up, I do have autoimmune disease, but it doesn't have a name. It's called undefined autoimmune disease. I had all the markers, but kind of like a Chinese menu. I had a little from column A and a little from column B and a little from column C. And it ends up that there are 140 different autoimmune diseases, and they're finding more all the time. But the way that a functional doctor approaches it always starts with the gut and healing the gut. So we started to take a look at my gut, and we started to run a whole different kind of testing. I had done allergy testing with my conventional doctor. My functional doctor did sensitivity testing. I had 18 sensitivities to foods that I was unaware of. So by eliminating those right off the bat, a major part of my pain disappeared. Conventional doctor only tested for allergies, and the only thing I was allergic to was the tape that held the test on my back. So it didn't get me anywhere. And the difference between an allergy and a sensitivity is an allergy is like peanuts. You eat it, you can die right away. A sensitivity starts a slow burn that then becomes inflammation. And it inhibits you from being able to properly digest your food. And so the food tries to get through the 1 cell thick wall of your gut, rips a little hole in it because it's too big, and then your body has a natural system that screams attack because it doesn't know what it is. And what's interesting is it will mimic different things in different people. For me, it mimicked my joints and my muscles. For somebody else, maybe it will mimic thyroid tissue.
Oh.
Hashimoto's and Graves' disease. For someone else, it will mimic skin tissue. And that's psoriasis and eczema and maybe even acne. For somebody else, it's the lower gut, and that's IBS. So your immune system starts to attack whatever tissue it's mimicking. And so you have to get that leaky spot healed so you stop passing all of these impurities or too large food pieces into your gut, and then your body can start to heal. So I cleaned up all the toxins in my life. I literally removed hundreds of them. I cleaned up my food. I started eating only organic because I couldn't handle the glyphosate and the herbicides and the pesticides that they were spraying on the food. And then we tested, and I was loaded with heavy toxic metals, which was kind of amusing to me because I was born in Pittsburgh, and my joke was always that I popped out allergic to Pittsburgh. I was instantly in allergy territory, and my dad moved me away from there when I was 4 because he didn't think I was going to survive if I stayed in Pittsburgh. Well, it ended up being a really good thing. I remember at 4 them spraying the roads with oil to keep the steel dust and the coal dust down. So all of that stuff went into my body. And then the next test she did was to find out what was in my genetics. And I have something called MTHFR, which means that what goes into my body stays in my body. So all of those toxins from the very beginning were still in my body, and all of those heavy toxic metals were there. And it's because I didn't have enough folate in my body, and it was something I inherited from both my parents. I got it from both sides. And interestingly enough, they both had diseases that were MTHFR related. So too bad they weren't still here when I learned all this, because I could have helped them. But we did a metal detox. I got rid of all the metals. And then I still was having some pain and some inflammation. So the next thing we tested for was mold. I was loaded with mold. I have no idea where I got it from. And when we did the mold detox, I did not get it all. So I am now doing a second mold detox, which is a green drink, which I much prefer to the stuff that I was taking the last time. I make a green drink every morning with parsley and spinach and cilantro and ginger and the juice of 2 lemons and an orange and spinach, 2 big handfuls of spinach, and then filtered water. And that's what I have for breakfast. And we retest in October, and she thinks that this will not only get the mold, but it will grab the herbicides and the pesticides that we discovered are in my body. So I still am a work in progress, but I'm functioning and I'm happy and I don't hurt anymore. And as a result of all of that, I decided at 67, I was going to go back to school. I became a health coach. I named myself the Health Muse because I want to inspire people to live a cleaner life so they don't end up where I did. And then I wrote a book. And the book is about all the toxins that I found in my life and what I replaced them with. And it's called It Feels Good to Feel Good. Learn to eliminate toxins, reverse your inflammation, and feel great again. And I cover not only what I found in my food, but also what I found in my cosmetics. I no longer take any over-the-counter medication. Each one of those has a gift and they do something bad at the same time. I can't afford that, so I've eliminated. I have found natural solutions to all of that. I changed all my cooking utensils in the kitchen. I now use stainless steel and all those little black plastic things are gone. I didn't want to give up my Teflon pan until I read that it wasn't just that the Teflon was the pieces were getting into my system, but it was emitting gas into the air that I was smelling while I was cooking. So they all went. I now cook with stainless steel. I store my food in glass with silicone covers. No more plastic in my life. We put a full house filter system on our water. I thought Flint, Michigan was an unusual situation. Well, it's not. There are thousands of cities in America that have disgusting levels of contaminants in their water, and you can actually call your city and get a report and see what's in there. But I strongly recommend that at least you filter what you're cooking with and drinking with on your kitchen sink. And we're just putting in the whole filter system because I don't want the toxins through my skin when I shower and take my bath. So all of that has been resolved in my life. And then I also went into what to do about stress, what to do about anxiety, what to do about toxic lack of sleep, which there's a new book out called Why We Sleep that thinks that lack of sleep is even more dangerous to the body than stress, which was kind of a revolutionary idea. And just quickly, that seventh hour that they want you to get at night is when your brain sweeps the plaque out that gives you dementia. So that seventh hour is really important, but I talk about all that. And I think I have 35 ways to get to sleep if you have a problem. When I got sick, I was in a toxic relationship. I actually woke up one morning and he said, "I don't like it that you're sick." I said, "Okay, what would you like me to do about that?" So obviously we broke up, but I met a fabulous man 5 years ago who wanted to go on a get well journey with me. He's lost 80 pounds since he's been with me. I married him 3 years ago, and he is my soulmate. He is with me 100%. To be healthy, to support me in my coaching, to support me in my speaking. And so toxic relationships impact you just as horribly as stress and lack of sleep. And then the last one is lack of exercise. I've never liked to exercise, but I have found two things that I really love because it's important that you do that. And in my case, one of the big reasons, which will sound unusual, is because all of those toxins in my body have to get flushed out of my lymph system. So I actually jump on a rebounder to get all of that sludge out of me, which has been an important part about me regaining health. So I give lots of suggestions for all phases of your life. I am now a coach. I do take on private clients, and I work mostly with people with chronic illness and chronic pain. I originally wrote the book because I wanted to help other people with autoimmune disease, because I meet people all the time who are told they're crazy, by their doctor, and they're not. So I wanted to help people with autoimmune disease and give them my story to try to help them through with theirs. But it ends up, inflammation is most of our chronic illness. It's cancer, it's strokes, it's dementia, it's depression. All of that starts in the gut. Parkinson's, which my mother had a rare form of, some forms of epilepsy, autism. It all starts in the gut, and it is all related to inflammation. So getting rid of the toxins in your life are extremely important. Now, one of the things I didn't understand is that it's all about toxic load, and it builds up over a long period of time. I had signs. I first couldn't be around anybody with fragrance on because I couldn't breathe. That was my first sign that my toxic load was building, but I didn't know that's what it was. Second thing was my mascara was making me crazy. Even the hypoallergenic mascaras were making me crazy. That was the second sign of toxic load. Third sign was deodorants. Some made me blister, others made me rash. I finally found a clay deodorant by a woman who has MS. And she made it out of self-defense because she couldn't find a deodorant that she could use. But the last thing that happened before the 2x4 hit me over the head was I woke up and my lips and my tongue and my eyes were swollen. And it ended up that through deduction, I figured out it was fabric softener. So it builds up over a long period of time. It can take 20 years. So you may say, I don't have any problems. I don't have any inflammation. Unless you are really tuned into your body, you don't know. I have a chapter in the beginning of the book that says, do you have any of these things? Little things. Like I used to look in the mirror in the morning, and some days I had what I thought were pretty days, and some days I had puffy days. That was inflammation. There's a whole series of things. Constipation is inflammation that you wouldn't connect to inflammation. And it's important that you start to clean up your diet and your life because it will come up in terms of some kind of chronic illness and fight you. And for all those people who say, I can't afford to eat organic, I sort of look at it now, pay now or pay later. Because if you're eating all of those toxins, it's going to get you eventually, and you're going to end up with some kind of chronic disease. So I have spoken to hospitals, to their cancer survivors. I have spoken to their stroke survivors. I have spoken to lots of people with autoimmune disease. I've now done 40 podcasts. So this is another one because I really want to get this information out. And so even more important than working one-on-one with people, which I love to do, and I've had tremendous success, I want to inform people. I want to help people discover how they can live a cleaner life and also avoid disease for their children down the line. That's sort of become my thing. So I'm amused because I want to inspire you. And I'll go one more second. Statistics are frightening. We are 37th in the world in health, and yet we spend more than any other country on health, and I think it's because of all the toxins. 25% of our population is going to have some kind of diabetes by 2025. 53% of our children already have some kind of chronic illness. It's all connected to these toxins. And I don't know if you're aware of it, but glyphosate, which is Roundup, just lost a landmark case in San Francisco where it is now recognized that it is a toxin, and they are heavily spraying all of our food with glyphosate, and it is heavily in all our processed food. So you got to eliminate it. You have to eliminate the synthetic ingredients. You have to get rid of all the pesticides and herbicides. If you're going to eat meat, which I do because I need the vitamin B12, it has to be clean meat. It has to be pastured, which means grass-fed and grass-finished. No GMO feed going into that cow before you eat him, because that all passes into your body, and they're putting hormones and stress hormones and all kinds of stuff into your body if you're eating conventional meat. So everything has to clean up, and my book will tell you where that is. So that's kind of what I'm all about. I'm now going to be 70 years old, and I feel better than I did when I was 50. So my last thing is to tune into your body, let your body tells you how it feels. I think we're so busy, we're not paying attention. So if you tune into your body and you clean up your food, then you will live a much longer, happier, healthier life. So that's my whole thing.
You gave us so much information. Thank you. So I have questions. So the first thing you said was leaky gut. Now, does that mean you had a tear in your gut and it was leaking out? And why is it that your doctor didn't find it? And how did you manage to stop?
A conventional doctor doesn't even know to look for it. They have not been trained this way in medical schools. It's not their fault. Medical schools were started by pharmaceutical companies. I had no idea. Rockefeller was a pharmaceutical guy, and he started medical school, so that's what their emphasis is on. They get, at best, a half a day in nutrition. So when the doctor tells you to lose weight but gives you no idea how to do it, it's because he hasn't been trained. He doesn't know. It's not that he doesn't want to do right by you. He just hasn't been trained in that direction. By the time I got to my functional doctor, that came up right away. And a lot of diseases are connected to leaky gut. So yes, it is a rip in your gut. It can be healed. Your gut has a wall that is only one cell thick. So when you don't properly digest your food, and toxins are one of the things that hinder you from digesting your food, stress is another one that hinders you from properly digesting your food, then the particle is too big. And so it can't go through that one cell thick wall. So it starts to pop up against it until it pushes its way through. And when it pushes its way through, it makes a leak. And it goes into your blood, and because it's not the right size molecule, your blood doesn't recognize it, and your immune system triggers and screams foreign invader and starts to attack it. And then it mimics some part of your body, which for me were my muscles and my joints, kind of similar to fibromyalgia, but I don't have fibromyalgia. I just have part of the syndrome of it. And your immune system is doing what it's supposed to do, but it goes into hyperactivity to attack those food particles that are in the wrong size going into your system. And so you can heal it. I take glutathione every day, which normally your liver makes enough of, but because mine had gotten so out of whack, my liver doesn't make enough glutathione to heal my gut. So I take glutathione every day, and that has helped me heal my gut. And then I've eliminated the things that were causing the tear. I've eliminated most of the toxins in my life, which has helped dramatically. I have significantly lowered my stress, and I have a great exercise that I'll share with you to do that, which has actually even been scientifically proven by me that it works. All of the things that were causing me not to do what my gut was supposed to do have been eliminated. We have more bugs in our gut than we have cells in our body, and they are really important to be super healthy. The other thing that all these pesticides and herbicides do when they get in our gut is they're not only killing the bad bugs on the outside, they're killing the good bugs on the inside. So you got to get rid of all those pesticides and herbicides so that your digestive system works properly. I take probiotics, which means that I add extra little good guys every day, and I eat prebiotics, which are things that feed the probiotics. Who'd have thunk? So prebiotics are things like onions and garlic and artichokes and jicama. All of those things go into your body, and then they're in your upper digestive system. They go down and they feed all the good bacteria in your lower digestive system. So you want all that to be super healthy, and then that means that the little extra wrong size food particles are no longer popping against your wall of your gut, and it all starts to heal up. Sensitivities also cause you to not digest your food properly. So by eliminating my 18 food sensitivities, that was like instant relief. So I cook most of my own food so that I can stay away from these things. I call them my kryptonite. And if people will tell you you can do it with what's called an elimination diet. Of course, the ones that are bothering me are not the normal culprits. So I have sensitivity to sage and mint and fennel, and there's a whole bunch of herbs. Basil, I can't have basil. I used to eat so much chicken, I thought I was going to cluck. Now chicken is a sensitivity. So all of that makes me have almost instant inflammation if I eat it. So I avoid it. And so I've learned to cook around it. Dairy is a normal culprit. I can't have dairy. So I've learned to completely cook around dairy, but I can have ghee, which is clarified butter, because what I'm sensitive to is the casein and the whey in the dairy product. It's not the oil, and it ends up that the oil and ghee is extremely healthy for you if you have inflammation. So I use a lot of ghee when I cook. I love the taste. It tastes like butter, so I get the advantage of the butter without the disadvantage of the casein in the whey. So staying away from my sensitivities was a giant step back to health. And then I tease my functional doctor that I'm an onion. We keep peeling layers off of me and finding things underneath that are keeping me from optimal health. I lost 45 pounds when I started eating this way, but I stopped because my body is not working optimally yet. But my husband of 3 years has lost 80 pounds because he didn't have that problem. We didn't diet. We just started eating clean. And when the toxins were gone, the body could function optimally, and the weight just fell off of him.
So nowadays you hear this, if you eat this food, it's going to clear away toxins. If you drink this, it's going to clear away toxins. So what you just said and what you just opened my eyes to, that even the cookware that we use has toxins in it, and
Yep.
the air we breathe, and I mean everything is toxic, right?
We're having fires out here. I was just in Los Angeles and they had a series of fires, and I did get inflammation from the fires in the air. When I came back to Sedona, there is a fire here. So I have a little bit of inflammation. It's everything. It's environmental, it's food, it's over-the-counter drugs, little things like for years my head was itchy. Who'd have thought I was allergic to my shampoo? I was sensitive to synthetic ingredients in my shampoo. So I have found a company that she had cancer. They put their whole life into making clean products that on the EW scale are a 1. And I have no problem with their shampoo or their SPF cream to be in the sun, or they even make petroleum jelly replacement things, because petroleum jelly has all kinds of impurities in it. And all those things in petroleum jelly that we grew up with all our life, they're not good for us. They block our pores, they block the impurities in, and they don't let the impurities that are in our body to come out. So the avocado-based version of it that this company, and this company is called Keys, Keys dash soaps, their products are so clean you could practically eat them. And they now have done a dog line because they love their dog and he has all kinds of skin problems. So they do a skin line for the dog that's also super clean. So everything. We are remodeling our home in Los Angeles. We did quite a bit of research to find carpeting that was low toxin, paints that were low toxin, linoleums that were low toxin, because I can't afford to have the off-gassing. When I moved back into that house, that would make me sick again. So we did the best we could possibly do by finding the lowest toxin things. And there's actually a little greenhouse that gets put on things that are environmentally low in toxin when you're remodeling your house. So you have to start thinking about everything. And obviously, I never drink water out of plastic anymore. I have stainless steel bottles. I fill them up from my filtered water system, and I take my water with me. And if I'm going to be gone longer than 1 bottle of water, I bought big stainless steel jugs. The delightful thing about keeping your water in stainless steel is it keeps cold, no matter how hot it is outside. So it's always really delicious to drink, but I don't use plastic water bottles anymore. They put plastic into your water. They are less regulated than the water coming out of your tap, so that there's more impurities in the water. And recently I read an article that there's little tiny microbes of plastic in the plastic bottles of water that your body can't afford to have. So no more plastic water. But that saves me money to buy my organic vegetables, because I'm filling up my water bottles at home and I'm not buying plastic water anymore. So there's ways that you juggle that you can afford to live a cleaner life.
Well, that's awesome. So let me ask you one more question. So what do you think, as women, you said you changed your makeup. What makeup are you using now? I mean, I'm sure the women want to know that.
I'm using something called Well People, and it's a W backwards 3 LL People. It's also very low on the EWG scale. And she was a makeup artist that started having problems because she was dealing with all the cosmetics and they were impacting her body. So she created a very low toxin cosmetic line. 6 years ago, when I started looking, it was really hard to find organic cosmetics, but there are quite a few lines out there now. So it's easy to find them. Get very familiar. There's what's it called? There's a database that EWG has that I actually have on my phone that I can look up. I can scan something in that's cosmetics and get the rating right on the spot. I know have things that I like, but get very familiar with EWG. They put out what suntan lotions you should use because they're so highly toxic. The state of Hawaii has forbidden people to use suntan lotions because it's killing their sea life, that all those people are going into the ocean. But they're also going through your skin and poisoning you. So EWG has recommendations, and there's even a little sample kit that you can get from them to try different ones. There's a database for all the food, for all your canned goods, for oils. I mean, I thought olive oil was a good choice, and it would be, except for the mafia has gotten involved with it, and they're cutting it with the bad oils. And the oils that were good when I was young then became bad, and then the bad oils became good, and now the good oils are bad. So the good oils are listed in my book. They are olive oil, but it needs to either be olive oil from California, who regulates that it's really olive oil, or it needs to have a little label on it from Italy and Spain and Greece that it is real olive oil. They are actually tracking the olive from the tree to the bottle. So you want to look for that certification so that you know that it's real olive oil. So olive oil, ghee is a great oil. Coconut oil is great. I'm not crazy about the smell, so I prefer to cook with ghee, but cooking with coconut oil is great. Brown rice oil is an excellent choice. It's a little more expensive, but it's a great choice. Avocado oil is an excellent choice. So you want to get rid of all of those old vegetable oils and soy oils. And there's a full explanation in my book of the difference between genetically modified, which I didn't really understand before I started researching, conventional produce, which is still loaded with toxins, and then organic. So genetically modified is one of two things. They've either inserted Bt toxin into the plant, which is stuff like soy and corn. And Bt toxin, when the insect eats it, it blows up his stomach and he dies. Okay? So it's good for the crop, but bad for you because the Bt toxin's going into you and it's killing all of our bees because they're getting the Bt toxin. No bees, no pollination, no food. So this is a big issue. So the things with Bt toxin are genetically modified, and then the other kind of genetically modified are things that are made Roundup ready. Roundup ready means glyphosate. Glyphosate is what just lost a $260 million lawsuit because they have finally proven how bad it is for us. And from what I've read, they've known for a very long time that it's been poisoning us. So you don't want to genetically modify. Now, people will tell me, oh, we've been engineering food forever. The carrots once were only white and they became orange after a Bugs Bunny. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about things that are still in their natural state. I'm talking about things that have been genetically changed from anything that would have ever happened in nature. So those are the ones you want to be careful of. Conventional food is heavily sprayed. You can actually look up how many toxins are on your vegetables if you buy them conventional. And there's a list that EWG puts out called the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15. If it's on the Dirty Dozen, you do not buy it if it's not organic because it's going to load you up with, there's something like 72 toxins on a potato. You don't want that. So if it's on the Dirty Dozen list, you absolutely buy it organic. If it's on the Clean 15 list, it doesn't matter. I vote with caution because I don't want to get ill again. So I try to buy everything organic, but if funding is limited, at least buy the Dirty Dozen organic and you'll eliminate a major amount of the toxins on you. So, sorry, I don't remember what your original question was. I went off on a tangent here.
No, but because you talked about the makeup, so that was my original.
But yeah.
Let just quick, so because we're running out of time. One more question is that just when you started being ill and when you found your doctor, so are these doctors available in clinics?
My doctor graduated from Yale. She is a full medical doctor, but most functional doctors got sick themselves, which is why they went back for the additional certification. You can go to IF, like Frank, M like Mary.org.
Excuse me.
Put your zip code in at the top and it will give you every functional practitioner in your area. They do not all take insurance. So I called all the ones that were in Los Angeles, talked to the office manager until I did find somebody who takes insurance. So I just want to warn you, they may not take insurance, but sometimes they work on what's called a concierge system where you pay like $300 a year and then you do copays like you would for a regular insurance, and then their office takes care of you. But it's like night and day. I would still be sick had I not found my functional doctor. I love her to death. She literally saved my life. So,
and that's what people need to know because where I come from, we were taught not to, everything was traditional. We never had everything we had was organic. Then we come here and we get all kinds of big apples and shiny apples and there's a lot of variety. But now it's become an awareness to people that, maybe this food that we are genetically modifying or the stuff that we are spraying it with so that it lasts longer is going to stay. So I myself, I went to the grocery store the other day. I was doing some things and I had found an orange, and I never understand why there have so many oranges and their oranges stay put. They don't.
They don't. Yeah.
Right.
Yes. Right.
Or even their bananas, And why is it that we bring home bananas and in 3 days they are ripened? I never understood that. So I'm always asking these questions, and I know that many people are aware of the fact that, talking about eating organic. So go to farmer markets in the summer and buy the food from there because it's organically grown, although it's a little bit expensive. But like you said, pay now, pay later, right?
Right. Well, you want to buy as close to the farm as possible. Now, I'm lucky I live in California. We grow a lot of the country's food. So I always have food I can get from my farmer's market. If you're living someplace where you don't have that advantage, at least buy organic frozen vegetable. But as close to the farm as you get more nutrients because you're cooking it right after it's picked. And believe it or not, your body wants to heal, but it's like garbage in, garbage out, just like computers. You feed your body synthetic ingredients, and then that's exactly what you get. You get a garbage body. If you feed your body nutrients, your body goes yippee and it starts to heal you. It is your friend. It is your partner. And so my first rule that I made for myself was when I went grocery shopping, if I couldn't pronounce it, I didn't buy it. And if I didn't know what it was, I wouldn't buy it. Things like MSG are now under 32 different names on a label. To hide, I think everybody knows MSG is not good for you. Well, they hide it. They change the name. Things like natural flavorings, that's MSG. So you don't need that. Corn syrup, they've just decided to give it some kind of a fancy name so that you don't know what it is. So if you read it and you don't know what that word means, you stay away from it. It makes it easy. And I didn't talk about sugar. Sugar is nasty stuff. Sugar is as addictive as cocaine. And if you have cancer, it loves sugar. It wants to gobble it up. So it's not easy to detox off of sugar. It was like I was detoxing off of a drug. I got sick as a dog for 3 weeks. But once I came out the other side, I wasn't hungry all the time. I just eat a Thanksgiving dinner and then be looking for food. How could that be? I just ate a huge Thanksgiving dinner because sugar turns off a hormone in your brain that regulates whether or not you're hungry. So if you've been eating sugar, you keep going more because your body isn't working properly. So when you detox off the sugar, you no longer are hungry all the time. You're only hungry when you're actually hungry. And fake sugars are worse than real sugar. They make you gain weight, and they're just synthetic substances. And each one does something different. The yellow packet kills all your gut bacteria. The pink packet is a neurotoxin. And the blue packet is a neurotoxin. So you need to get off the sugars. The only sweet thing that I use is stevia that is pure stevia. And you got to read the label even on that because they're putting dextrose and all kinds of other things into it. So you want to have pure stevia, and just a drop will give you enough sweet that makes, satisfies you. So all of this stuff is toxic to the body.
Well, thank you so much for sharing this because it's been lovely. This is awesome because I've learned so much from you. Where can we get your book?
You can get my book either from Amazon. It's called It Feels Good to Feel Good. Or you can get it from my website. And I recommend you go to my website because I have a ton of wonderful information there that's free. I have a whole tab called Free Stuff because I've now done 8 summits. And when I do summits, I give away free information. So it's all there. So my website is Cheryl with a C, Cherylm, like Mary, health, HEALTH, Muse, MUSE.com. And you can go, you can get a sample of my book that you can download. You can buy the book there, and then we ship it out of my office with a bookmark. And then there's all kinds of free information, and there's great information in my blogs. So if you go in there and you noodle around, you'll learn. I am freely sharing all the information that I have learned because truly at 70 years old, I just really want to help people. So if you can't do it on your own, you can hire me as a coach, and I can inspire you to make the right choices to get to your goals, or you can read my story, read my book, and start eliminating toxins, because and it's about toxic load. So you don't have to do it all right away. Each toxin that you eliminate is one step back closer to health. And if you buy my book from me, write to me and let me know, because there's a workbook where you can read any chapter in any order. As you read it, you write down what you're finding toxic in your life and what you're going to replace it with when you run out of it. You don't have to go spend a fortune and throw everything away all at the same time. Everything that you change to something less toxic is one step closer to health. So I did it over 6 years. So, just start taking the steps, and your body will thank you.
Thank you so much. You've showed us and you've helped us understand a lot of things. I'm going to start looking at my sugars first, and I was about to buy new cookware, so I'm going to have to look at the stainless steel cookware that you are recommending.
And I use stainless steel, like spatulas, all that stuff now is stainless steel.
Okay.
Or silicone. I have a set of silicone that I like.
Yes, I like silicone too. But thank you so much. I'm honored and humbled. And for those people who are watching, please share, like, and subscribe to our channel. And we will share Cheryl's information on on the YouTube channel, so she can, if you want to look at the free stuff that she's giving out, you can look and click on that website. If you need her help, or her information will be there too. And I hope this was a very important and informational segment for you. And let's start making changes. Here's to a healthy life.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye now.
Bye-bye.